Hey, everybody, it's Travis Kelly with Brian Tucker with AgTechnologies podcast. Today, we're just going to be talking about a little bit of harvest, what we've been up to here recently, and the Sunbelt Expo in Moultrie, Georgia. We look forward to talking with you. We just wanted to check in and kind of talk about what we've been up to here lately. We got deep into harvest since we last got on. Things have been, I guess you could say they've been rolling pretty decent, but I know we've had some issues with some dry weather and peanut blades and things like that, just taking a little extra time to get the peanut crop out of the field. I guess, what have you been seeing down your way mostly, Tucker?
Yeah, like you said, just kind of some dry conditions, maybe good picking conditions, but not necessarily great digging conditions. But, calling for some more. We had a little bit of rain here recently that's kind of helped, and maybe calling for some more this weekend, which should be nice.
Yep. And I know we got a good bit of cotton being picked too, so hopefully these guys can get on through and beat any storms or anything and get out of the field and lick their wounds or whatever till we get ready for next season. I mean, there's been some positive stuff out there with some different areas. I've heard some guys talking about, we had some conversations with some guys this week about some sweet corn contracts and different things coming up that sound positive, but that does seem like that's what it's going to take, is to get creative this next little bit and figure out what crops we're going to be running, make sure these guys can hopefully be profitable as they can be. And we obviously want to help them get there best we can too. So, we've talked about it before. Most everything we try to provide is helping bring some level of value or efficiency to the farm. I know, I guess we can just jump on into the expo was last week. Last week.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah. So expo was last week. I didn't get to be there as much as I normally probably would, but I know you were there every day last week. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you, new or different, or just your take on the show, I guess?
Yeah, I can give you, I had to spend a good majority of my time in the booth, obviously, talking to people, but, I had somebody come by and make the comment. I thought it was pretty good. Like, he said it was his first time back in 25 years or something. And he said, the expo doesn't really change a lot, but the technology does. So technology is where a lot of the advancements are. And, there's lots of it out there. But overall, it was a good show. I felt like the attendance was, pretty good, considering, folks are out still picking peanuts and stuff. But overall, pretty good attendance, and it was a good show.
Mm-hmm. So was there I know you were in our booth mostly, was there anything particular that you saw that was new or anything, or just kind of new versions of the same stuff, I guess?
Yeah, from what I saw, like I said, I didn't get to walk around a ton. A lot of kind of new versions of the same stuff, mainly from what I saw. I do kind of regret not getting out there and walking the whole show a little bit more and seeing more stuff. But
I know they had that Jocto planter there. Did you ever get to look at that?
No, I never got to go over there and look at it.
Okay. And everything I've seen with it so far, I think it's pull type, right? It is. Yeah. I think it's pull type.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So that one is a bulk fill. It kind of hoppers sort of resemble a crust buster, I guess you could say. And I think it was on Twins, wasn't it? Also, I believe
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Well, I know LMC is the main ones that's kind of pioneering that one for the area, I guess. I don't know where all else. It seems to be probably a little more centered to produce and stuff, but I know that I want to say they planted some standard row crop with it. I think they did some peanuts and all with it, because they got it. Looking at it, it seems to have precision meters and all on it, but they're running some of their own motors and all. So it's something, we may be able to support in a way, but it's sort of a their play on it, but then also some precision stuff with crop kits and that kind of stuff is what it looks like. So that was one interesting thing. I hadn't actually got to see that in person yet, so I was kind of glad to get to see that out there. I think Amatis had a new picker out too. I believe there was some buzz around that. I can't remember all the new ins and outs of it, but I believe there was a new Amatis picker. Let's see what else was there. I mean, there's definitely drones and a lot of that kind of stuff out there. We had our Symphony demo in the booth this year. That was new to us. So I know we've mentioned Symphony a few times on the podcast, but it's a pretty neat demo. You can do it stationary or have it in the field running, and ours does have a camera on it already and all too, so it's showing off our Symphony spray technology from Precision, and that one is the Pulson technology with having every tip rate control. So we do have that, and that's going to be something we're going to be able to take around and show and do some field days, and also we're excited about having that there. I guess that was the main thing new that we had in our booth, I guess, really.
Yeah, that was the main kind of new thing that we had in the booth. And I'll say, obviously with it being the new thing, I guess that's why we had a decent amount of conversations around it. But, kind of like you're talking about, just with the Symphony, and of course we had our planter row unit that shows off the, all the different precision products. But, a lot of conversations that I had around it were kind of twofold. One being, and I know we've probably talked about this before, but with precision planting being so, not modular, and you can add components as you go. Like, if you want to get into the planter, you can, just do seeding and delta force, or then you go back and add liquid next year, or, closing tail the following year. You don't have to do it all at one time. I think people see some value in that, just kind of going into it. And then also, once you have that 2020 in your DBM, it doesn't have to just stay with the planter. Now, you can have your sprayer controls with Symphony. And once you get the Symphony nozzles, okay, now we can add the cameras. You don't have to get the cameras up front, but you can,
Okay.
Or you can put it in your combine for the yield monitoring, or on your laybys. Once you have that 2020, it just gives you a lot of flexibility and options for other things that you can do, other controls that you can have. So I think that's a lot of our conversations were.
Yeah, and they've broadened that. I know they've broadened that with the newer software too, it seems, where you don't have to have all the, not to get too technical with it, but there was some of the base components you had to have with some of them that now you don't really have to do that anymore, where like used to, if you wanted to do just liquid control on a planter, you had to add a smart connector to do seeding monitoring and that kind of stuff. And now you can kind of just choose, like, I want to do just granular or just delta force or just liquid, because that's all doable, right? Like you can just do those one things, and you don't have to. It's not a requirement to have seeding in there if you don't want. Which, I mean, it obviously does seeding great, but if you're not controlling it, you're just going to get the monitor, and that's going to be it. So that is something nice, which we still got to get our foot in the door with the new software a little bit, but
that's right.
I think the Panorama is going to push us there probably faster than anything. Which I guess we do have the Symphony that we have out has the new .1 on there. So, but yeah, there's some positives to come of that, and we do know we've got some that are going to be using Passmaster this year, doing cover sharing in field and all that. So we'll have some of that coming. Okay, so I guess the only other thing that we had at the show, and this will kind of maybe lead into the next topic, we had our Sabanto units running at the show. We had 2 tractors this year out in the field. Michael was heading that up this year. And that's our autonomous solution that we've been using for sod. And that's something where I've been putting a lot more focus this beginning of this fall so far, just getting more familiar, meeting with more sod growers, working with some of that technology. And I've been really pleased working with that. It's kind of, I told a guy yesterday, working on these sod farms, you kind of I mean, not saying you can't have a bad day, but like when you go out there to work on them, you at least always have a good view, if nothing else. So a lot of these places, they're just, beautiful. And I guess it's just the dad in me just wants to see a fresh yard cut of grass, so it's just nice being out there seeing that, but just seeing what these units can do for these sod producers has been really crazy, and how they've adopted it, and they're just picking up and running with it so quick, and it's just saving them so much time and money and efficiency, and helping them with their labor force and that kind of stuff. But then we've also seen some other things that we've been able to help guys with um, just some of their basic guidance, whether it's on their sod harvesters or even on their standard mowing tractors that they just don't have. They may just not have guidance on them yet. And like we were at a farm yesterday, and we noticed the guy was running, and this is not uncommon, and I'm not saying I would do any better, but the guy was running. They're talking about autonomy, and behind him, the tractor's running in the field it was a 22-foot mower or something like that, I think. And he's overlapping like 3 feet, I mean, just over time. I know right now that's the best possible thing for them, so they're not leaving gaps. But, over time, how many blades is that? How much fuel is that? How much of the operator's time is that? How many hours on the tractor is that? That 3 feet each pass, overlap, and how, if they're mowing that field at least 2 times a week in the heavy growing season, that starts adding up. And it may not sound like a lot, but that's a primary function of those machines on that farm. So you don't really have a lot else to measure off of other than how efficient are we getting through this field? How long is it taking us? How many acres per hour are we cutting? That kind of stuff. So it's pretty interesting to see where you can just help dial those things in on those sod farms. And we've had some pretty cool solutions with some guys that are growing the sod on plastic, for these athletic fields. That's been really cool, getting in with some of those guys. That's just a whole new like niche market there. We've talked with some guys that are growing specifically for high-end golf courses, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of a whole new world. I mean, it's still in our standard ag area, but it's just such a different operation than what we're used to. It's just more of you hate to say a manufacturing option, but I mean, it's just the trucks and the scheduling and the stuff has to be cut and laid within a certain amount of time. And, it's just, it's amazing to see the machine that whole operation is, and like how their cogs of that machine turn. 'Cause it's a lot going on every day. I mean, every one of those sod farms is just busy, just all day long. There's trucks in and out. There's harvesters cutting. There's tractors mowing. There's, sprayers, spreaders. There's just stuff running all over the place. So it's a really interesting, unique operation to watch. And there's just so many more of them around too than like we really realized, I guess, previously before we got so deep into it. So that took me last week all the way up into even North Carolina. And that was pretty cool, just being up there working and having mountains in the background. But it was nice kind of just getting to a different landscape and seeing some of that. So we'll have a lot of that going into the mowing's going to start slowing down here soon, but we'll probably be doing some field days and some visits to try to get that, really spun up before this next mowing season comes up. Hopefully we get some more interest there. So we've been having some pretty good luck there. I know we were talking about kind of planning going into just getting ready for the end of harvest. I guess you want to kind of talk about what we're going to be getting geared up for preseason, winterizing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we talk about, coming at the end of harvest here, going into winter, maybe talking about some ways that we can make sure that our equipment and technology, make it through the winter, some best storage practices. And, we deal with a lot of farms and we see a lot of issues and a lot of preventable issues. So, kind of talking about some of those things and, get us ready for the winter, and then coming around into spring before you know it, and getting some of that stuff back out and getting some pre-seasons done on it. So
what's your number one controversial item that we can mention that we've had different thoughts about over the past week or so about how to handle?
Well, for V-applies or even I guess our EMHDs, but V-applies specifically on our planters, see a lot of cracked tops and issues after the winter. So definitely need to make sure that we handle those correctly.
And I know we were back and forth about it last week because I know you've looked at it too, but Precision's recommendations on that, you look one spot and it says run RV antifreeze through them and don't drain them.
Yeah.
And then you look, or I guess they talked with somebody from support last week that pretty much said, no, don't do that.
No, don't. Yeah.
So I think consensus from us, not saying that everybody wants to do this, but I would say, and you tell me if I'm wrong.
I would agree. I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Take them off, put them in a tub, put them in the shop, or put them just somewhere that's a little more climate controlled. It's aggravating, but it's not that aggravating if it's going to prevent coming back and springing a leak somewhere, and you're just crossing your fingers and hoping that they didn't get messed up. So I mean, I would love to be able to say, like, before you part that thing, before you fold it up on it, because as soon as it gets folded up, the comment's going to be, well, we can't get to those top ones, so, we don't need to worry with it. So, I mean, my thought would be flush it out real good. And before you fold it up, take those jokers off. If you want to mark what row they come off of, or if you want us to come do it, great too. We'd be more than happy to do that. Mark what row they come off of, just so that way, like, hey, we were having problems on this row or whatever, and you keep track. But because it really doesn't matter if you mix and match them, obviously. But mark what row they come off of. Mark if they, if you got a 2-product system, try to, we like to use those paint markers, or either like I really like those gray Sharpies or silver Sharpies. They show up on the black really good. So on the back side of that module, you can mark row, and you could say product A, product B, or, whatever, however you're identifying them. Put them in a tub, put them in the office, put them, in the garage that's not as susceptible to hard freeze or whatever it might be. But that's what I mean, if it was mine, that's what I would think would be the most preventable, or preventative way to keep it from having any damage with the cold, or just having gunk locked in them and they're just sitting there, at least if they're opened up, and they can drain out or whatever it might be too. But I would definitely suggest flushing them, especially if they're the standard V-applies with the turbines and all still in them. It would definitely be smart to flush them. And like I said, we do not mind helping with that process if we need to come out and get them off, mark them, run them ourselves. We can bring our Liquid Max and run them and test them and go ahead and know if there's any issues for next season, or if there's any known issues. Obviously, that's a good thing to let us know about too. But that would just prolong the life of these things tremendously if we could do something like that. I guess the only other thing would really be like, cleaning all the seed out of them. That we've had issues with that, and that may sound like so simple, but when those little, as some of our friends like to say, when Mickey Mouse gets hungry and he wants to get up in there, he'll take all your brushes out of your meters. He'll chew holes through your seed hoppers. He'll do whatever if you leave some seed in those things. So get the seed out of the hoppers. Definitely get the insecticide out of the hoppers.
Please.
And make sure you run those meters over, turn them over a couple more times. We had somebody tell us I guess a good little method too, like you can even pour some grits in there and let it run through, and it'll just get a little, that residue out of there, or dry them out or whatever too. But that insecticide with the moisture we've got, that stuff will turn to cement in a heartbeat, and you don't want to mess up. the positive thing with the precision meters, and I don't really know about how the dry set micro is going to do compared, but I would think it would probably be a little stronger too since it's the auger style. But the positive thing with the way they built the precision meters is that the motor and the meter are two separate pieces. So if the meter does get so messed up, or you go to try to break that knob loose and it literally does break something, at least the more expensive piece can be removed and moved back over to another meter housing if needed. But if you can prevent all that by just emptying them out, run them till they go dry, at least that would be a tremendous better start to the new season if you can just do yourself a favor before it gets put up now. And I mean, as deep as we are into fall, if you parked your planter in June and you left insecticide in it, it's probably already hardened.
Might be too late. Yeah.
But you're not too late for the cold though. We've had some cool mornings, but we hadn't had any freezing yet, so still got an opportunity on the V-Apply. So if we need to help come out and work on that, we can by all means do that. We will be getting into the time of scheduling out pre-seasons sooner than later, so that would be something we could go ahead and jump on for sure. I guess last thing, do we want to kind of ease into it, or wait to do a big reveal about our peanut option we got for this next season, or do we want to kind of mention that?
I say just let's just tease them a little bit and make them really think about it and just do a big reveal.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got something we've been working on in the off season, and it's pretty much just going to open up our support of more planter styles. We've had very few twin row options that we've been able to use for peanuts so far with our electric meters, and this is really going to open us up, especially for our region. It'll really help us a lot. It is going to help us in our seeding on twin row applications, primarily peanuts, but it's going to help us with our seeding and our insecticide, and give us a lot better flexibility on adding liquid and those kind of things to those twin row planters. So we've got something coming. We'll do a bigger announcement about what that is. We're pretty excited about it, and we do think it's going to be very helpful to our growers, because we know there's been a lot of pain in that area. There's been some solutions that go with some of these machines that just, they're good solutions, but they just stop the grower in the field a lot. And it obviously, stopping in the field just means something's broken, which means you're fixing to have to pay to fix it, which means you're losing time, which means you're frustrated, which snowballs into, big old ball of anger. So we're really hoping that we're going to be coming out with a solution that's really going to open some people's eyes to how easy it can be to get across those acres more efficiently and be able to truly see what's going on behind you, be very confident in what's happening, where you're putting it, how you're applying liquid, how you're applying insecticide. Hopefully be able to maybe do a little bit more in one pass like we try to do with our other planters, whether it's adding row cleaners or whatever we've done with other planters. If we can add one more thing to one pass and keep you from having to drive through that field one more time, I mean, that's just less fuel, less compaction, less manpower, less wear and tear on the tractor, everything across the board. So we really hope that this is going to be a big addition to that. I guess coming up, what do we have? What do we have? Shows and stuff. You know of any shows or anything? I know we've got the Sod Producers Show in Perry in November. I know we've got that coming up. We've got the Precision Planting dealer meeting, so we'll definitely do some updates before and after that, because there's always something that comes out of that, whether it's just a better practice or a new product or new software, new features, whatever it might be. There should be something come out of that. What else we got?
That's the main stuff I know about to finish out the year right now,
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's some of the main final stuff. And then, so we'll definitely have some episodes coming out around some of those things, and then start talking about our pre-seasons, and then maybe some end of year deals. Maybe we can do something to try to speed up some of these decisions. I know it's a hard time to get some decisions made with not getting payments in yet, and that kind of stuff is difficult. But hopefully we can get some moving on, so we can help give some better prices to some guys, and also maybe just help us get some manpower allocated to get some work done, get some parts in, get a better idea what we need to have on the shelf. And I guess too, have we talked much about some of the new wear parts that we're going to try to be carrying more of, like some of our open and disc and all? I know we've kind of made some decisions on that. I think it's going to be a lot better this year.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about it on here yet.
Okay. So yeah, we do have our DuraWear parallel arms, gaugeful arms. We've got we like to use those Autoco tri-spoke wheels, which they've got solid too, but those tri-spoke wheels are really nice. We like those a lot. But we are pretty excited about we've got some new opening discs that are very solid. They're super high wear. And this is same stuff that Precision's putting on their cornerstones. And we have a resource on those now that we're pretty excited about. And we were, for whatever reason, we had a really hard time getting them previously from another vendor. So we hope we got that worked out now a little better. But I don't know. I foresee us hopefully, a lot of road cleaners, a lot of closing systems this year. I think it's a good time to make some mechanical upgrades too. So hopefully some good furrow force jobs out there. That's a super, super good upgrade really for any planter. Except for like a twin row. I guess we can't really do it on that, but really good upgrade, especially on cotton closing system. Like that one I was on the other day. I mean, it was a row, and I think there was 3 or 4 of those cotton closing tails that were just kicked over to the side. And most of the time you can get those straightened back up and tighten them up, but they just tend to walk a lot. Like I don't know that I've ever been on a planter that has those that you haven't walked behind it, and there's the rows here and the closing tails kicked out to the side. So
very common
seems to happen. Yeah, it seems to happen a lot, and it may not always show its head that bad, but those, with having that dual stage disc, it could be cutting into the furrow. You're not closing all the way. If you're running curve rows or terraces, I mean, like that tail might be way off depending if you're going left or right. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be looked at with some of those, which we'll talk through more as we're getting into our preseason stuff and all that. So, you got anything else you've run into recently, talking with some of the regional guys, or anything that everybody needs to be watching out for or thinking about?
No, I was thinking kind of 2 different conversations that I had at the expo that it kind of gave me a thought, and you were just talking about kind of our Sabanto and autonomous options that we have. And, I was talking to a guy that, talked about how he has some very skilled labor, some very highly educated, skilled labor that is having to spend a lot of time just mowing. And he felt like their time was better utilized in other ways. So how autonomy just made a lot of sense on his operation. And then I talked to some guys that, maybe are more a little smaller farmers, row crop farmers, where obviously autonomy doesn't necessarily fit into their application right now. That's just one thing. I feel like we have a really good portfolio of options. Technology looks different on different farms. What is applicable on different farms is going to be different, So I think that's kind of where, we kind of specialize and come in to, we know all the different technology options that we have. And, depending on what you farm, your farm size, maybe wherever your pain points are. We can come in and help you figure out what works for you. Not every application works on every farm. So
Right.
I don't know. I had just a lot of different conversations with different kind of growers, different size growers, and just a wide range of how we can help different people. So
Yep. Yeah, and that's what we've seen recently is I feel like we've been talking with a lot of new customers here lately, and you walk on the farm thinking they're a candidate for one thing, and then they uncover very quickly that they actually want this other thing, and then you see why very quickly. Or it could be the other way. They think they're
That's
a candidate for one thing, and then you prove to them that they actually are a candidate for this other thing. And just kind of letting them lead you down where you need to go, because some of them are still starting at ground zero. I mean, we've seen that even this week. Some of them are just getting started really in technology, and which is nice in a lot of ways. I mean, some ways it's tough because getting them to adopt it might be tough, but then at the same time, if you can start with a clean slate and you're not trying to mix and match these things together, it definitely is helpful. And then like with our data side of things, just knowing that you're going to be able to get them in a ecosystem that everything's on kind of pull together, that makes you feel real good too, just knowing you're going to be able to offer a good solid solution for them. There's not going to be any gaps here and there that's going to change the way they're used to doing things or whatever. So but well, I guess you got anything else you want to add?
No.
Or
I think that about wraps us up. Just we're going to be putting out some more podcasts more frequently, staying on top of it. So, make sure to check us out. And, we're going to be putting out some good stuff here to end the year and going into the new year.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think the next time we talk, hopefully, will be not too long from now, but we'll probably be talking about some more. I'm sure we'll have some more updates on harvest and things coming up, and maybe we'll be ready to start talking about our peanut operation options a little more. But in the meantime, we will be gathering some more information, hopefully be able to bring something back here to keep it interesting. And we appreciate everybody's time and tuning in, and we'll catch y'all next time.